Okay. Cool. There is a ceiling file that's been made up. Just go ahead and go open that because I think that is one that people are interested in.
Should we close the file we've opened?
Close the file we've opened. Let's not save it. Save it and close it. That actually is not a bad idea. Let's save and close what we do have going on the Biogen. Okay, if you browse to just our training files, there's a ceilings file.
Ceilings 001 or?
Oh, there is, or I'm sorry, if there's a backup file, and anytime there's a number after it, that's a backup file. Yeah, don't access that one.
Okay.
Go out to a 3D view. Hold Shift and your middle mouse wheel down, and it allows you to rotate. Okay. All of these ceilings are native, meaning they're actually in this project. So we need to be careful. Obviously, when you're linking in a Revit file from an architect, you won't have this luxury, and we're going to do it both ways. Once where it's native, once where it's not. Anytime you want to do a lighting fixture on one of these planes, utilize one of the hosted versions, because if you have a native ceiling, it will find the host. Okay? And let's check this out. Pick. Okay. A lot of fixtures by default have an always vertical control on them that won't allow them to go up and down. So that's a good thing, right? For a linear pendant, you know, if it's hanging, obviously gravity is going to control. For something like this, where we have a troffer, we may want that to conform.
Is that a hosted or unhosted?
In this case, this is a hosted. So this is one problem in that it won't always conform to that angle. There are some fixtures that will. I believe the recessed lighting cans, it's not a problem. The round down light, let's just give that a try. I'm sorry, one of the hosted round down lights. Yes, the hosted round down light will rotate around. Okay. So what's guiding that, it actually is under the hood, is for this troffer. Look at this. If you go Edit Family, there's a little folder in here, Family Category and Parameters. You scroll down and you find out that it says that it's face-based, it's a light source, and it's not saying it's always vertical. Why do a shift. Sometimes you'll see that they're always vertical. If that is the case, you have to uncheck that. You may have to see, look around, see if you can find the right fixture that will actually host. In the case of this troffer, you may have to make one from scratch. Let's try also editing the work plane. That was fine. Picking a plane. Everything looks like it should be doing it. For whatever reason, it's not performed. This one. Oh, interesting. The troffer's not. A few of the others are doing okay. The HLB. Let's try let's troffer.
Recessed fixtures.
Always vertical. Okay.
Although in recessed versus
Some of them are allowing. Yeah, that one's going. It's just fine. Some why the troffer was not doing it, I'm not sure. But at any rate, we probably have to pass over this. But for the most part, some fixtures happily do host to a slope ceiling. Okay. I also wanted to bring in an ACT ceiling. There were some questions about moving the grid. Right? Go to a plan view. Do an AL align. Let's just say we're going to align the grid with the edge of the ceiling definition. You hit the edge, and then you can hit the grid. You can move it as well. You can select an element of the grid and use your move commands and reposition it. See that? So you can just move that grid as you need. Okay, so it looks like the strip fixtures do a good job.
How do you, do you click on the ceiling grid first and then do the move command, or do you?
Correct. Yeah, you have to. And you can also do a rotate. Let's say you're on a 45-degree angle for some reason. You can rotate that ceiling grid. Rotate, you start that command by going RO. Select the grid, then RO. It gives you a rotational point. By the way, you can drag that rotational center to where you want it to be the base point of rotation very, very easily. In the case of the 4x4 grid, we can just do an RO, type in 90, and it rotates fully. I think there was also a question about what if we need to make a custom grid size. Select the ceiling perimeter, hit Edit Type in the Properties, click on the material which says 2x2 ACT. 2x2 ACT is in the top left of the column. Hit Duplicate, which is just a little icon in the lower left. Duplicate, lower left. It's 2 little sheets of paper. And call this 4x4 ACT maybe, or something like that.
Sorry, so I click on 2x2 ACT or 2x...
Either one, just duplicate either one. They're just starting points.
Okay, but I click on, I right click on it, or I'm in the materials list.
Okay.
And I've got 2x2
Oh,
do I right click?
You can right click on duplicate too. That's funny, I actually don't go through normally that way, but you certainly can.
How did you get to the chair assist?
If you click on a ceiling, hit edit family. I'm sorry, edit type. Hit edit type, then 2x2 ACT, and you hit that little thing there. And then click on 2x2 or 2x4. And this is cool, I didn't realize this before. You can right click and go duplicate. And we'll call it 4x4. And that surface pattern here, 3 little dots, we want to click on that surface pattern. It's going to be a model pattern, and we're going to hit new. New model pattern. We're going to call it 4x4. The angle is going to be 0. It's going to be a crosshatch. And we're going to make it 4 feet by 4 feet. We'll hit OK. And then you should be OK from there. You'll have that grid size all worked out. Hit OK a few times. And there you go. There you are. Let's draw a new ceiling quickly just in this file, just so you know how to draw ceilings if you ever have to. Go to your Architect tab, click on Ceiling. It defaults to Sketch Ceiling automatically in the ribbon. You want, or I'm sorry, Automatic Creation of Ceiling. You want to sketch the ceiling. Sketch Ceiling. Okay, one nice thing, Revit's very consistent, right, about the way that it draws. Remember when we were doing detail lines and things like that, we have a certain series of lines, straight line segments or rectangles, predefined shapes that we can do. Let's just do a series of lines. And ceilings have to have that closed loop of lines I was talking about. I believe in the donut theory. Outer group of lines, inner group of lines, and we'll make a hole in it. So let's just draw a quick rectangle. Or the L shape. Let's say we do an L shape instead. As long as it is a closed loop of lines, like that, the ceiling will create without any issue. When you're done drawing that shape, you have to hit this check mark, hit finish. And there it is. You can change the ceiling type by clicking on that ceiling once you've finished drawing it, and in your drop-down menu here, you have the other ceiling types that are in the project: 2x2, 2x4. Let's change it to a 2x2. So there we go. Isn't that nice? Pretty easy, right? Yeah. Why can't the architects just do that, you know, and get the ceilings in there? It's not terribly hard.
And it'll be helpful for when we want to shift their grids.
Yes, exactly. You won't be able to do it in a linked model, unfortunately.
Or we can make our own ceiling.
You make your own ceilings.
We should.
Sure. I mean, if you went to, you can go through the process of opening up the architect's file, selecting all their ceilings in their project, copying them, and then pasting them into your project. Some people do that, but it's a maintenance headache.
Does it always center the pattern?
It does. It finds the centroid of that object and it centers it. But
So what would be your suggestion? Because oftentimes I'm shifting architects' tiles, so my fixtures align the way I want them to align in the room. How would, and in CAD, I sometimes normally would just, I make another layer called like ceiling,
Yeah.
and I draw my new ceiling in, and then they essentially take that layer and shift their grid. How would you do it that in Revit?
Yeah.
Do you just have your fixtures in the middle of the tile?
Yes. That's probably the way to do it. And then they have to, when they bring your file in, they have to align the grids to it.
So you just have to set it.
That's what I would do. Yeah. It's definitely what I do. But yeah, not very hard, right? The curved ceiling is a little bit more of a challenge. And then I'm not even sure how this is going to work, so please bear with me. Place on face. Okay, it is finding the face, fortunately. If you take any of the, let's say the hosted recessed can, we'll find that curved face. Without a problem. Now to make that curved ceiling is another story. If you hold shift and look at hold shift and middle mouse wheel up so you're looking at the underside of it, it may, there it is.
Mode to do that?
Yeah, you really do. And if you can look at the underside of the curved ceiling, that's the biggest thing. You know, already that's great. Linear pendant went on just fine.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
and that one's told to always be vertical. So,
Yes, well, so this is actually angled. How would I get it to be vertical?
yeah, so click on it. That is the generic one. Perfect. Yeah, click on that. Hit Edit Family. And then click on that little file. That particular one can't do it. So you'd have to pick one of the other linear pendants. So just close this. That's the thing, there's a real mix of fixtures in here. Some of them are ones that I've really accumulated over the years, I think work particularly well. Some are older ones. For instance, there was an old linear pendant that was coming in that wasn't staying vertical.
Right, this one.
And that one does. Cool. And what happened with yours, man? Oh, those are, it's cutting holes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully the ceiling doesn't have that same thickness. But the here's another thing too. If you want, I'm calling what I've given you hosted fixtures. They don't often cut holes and they don't do those same things. They're meant to just more place themselves on a face. They're not looking for a ceiling per se. You could put these fixtures on a wall. It just needs a face. Let's load in some truly hosted fixtures and see if that acts a little bit better on the angled ceiling. Granted, this all demands the ceiling being native to your file. Go to Insert, Load Family. Okay, so here is the out-of-the-box component library that ships with Revit. MEP. Let's go down to electrical components, lighting, internal, and let's go to a troffer light, 2x4. Now these files will not work in most of the work that you're doing with a linked Revit file. 85% of the files that they ship with Revit MEP will not function because they're looking for a host, you know. So go ahead and open and light fixture. Okay, cool. The hosted light fixture works because that ceiling is native.
Where do you
find the fixture that you just brought in?
Where do you find it? And notice too, remember flipping that work plane, that little parallelogram? I had to do it on mine at least once here. So, in general, being able to place fixtures on a sloping plane is going to depend on having a reference plane or an object that you can say is the face. But it didn't work with the troffer that we had. It didn't work with some of the other fixtures. You may have to actually recreate that ceiling and make it a native part, or copy and paste it from the architect's file into yours and use some hosted fixtures to get that to work. That may be what you end up having to do. I don't know, is that answering questions, I guess, on sloped and curved ceilings, surfaces? Is that good? I think so. No.
Yes.
I'm going to say not. I think, and unfortunately, we have to end it with not one size will fit all. Yeah. It's going to be a variety of options out there. Okay. Let's start let's go back to our project where we had done all the work pre-lunch. We will do our LPD.
In this case, can we just click on the
You got it?
margin that comes up here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. That curved ceiling is it's called an in-place family. We talked about how it was made. Yeah. Oh, so whenever you're in a project and you want to make something that is not standard, go to a ceiling plan, any kind. Go to your Home tab, Component, Model in Place. This is something we can't really cover in this tutorial, probably in this session, but that's how you can make anything and everything on the fly. And it's basically those simple booleans: add, subtract, extrude, sweep. You do that in here, and you can make an object of any type. You select the category that it is. Is it a ceiling? Is it a wall? Is it a light fixture? For that matter. And you can do it all here. This is how I would do, if you have any curving, say like cathode tube or anything, something curving like that, I do an in-place family. Do that here. You won't be able to use it for rendering, but it will at least schedule and it will show up in plan. Things like that. Cancel? Okay. Okay, so LPD is based upon, and for that matter, the illumination calculations that we're going to be doing are really based upon the presence of an object type called a space in Revit, and a space is like a room. I was saying that carries a lot more data with it. So what we can do is we can get the host file or the linked file to give us kind of definition of what those spaces are, not only in plan but also volumetrically. So click on the architectural link. This is part of your setup probably after you've pinned it. All those things, you'll hit edit type. And you just want to make sure that room bounding is checked. As long as room bounding is checked, we're okay. Go to your Analyze tab. And we're going to hit space. And place spaces automatically. Computer will chug for a few moments.
Where was the room bounding side?
If you select the link, go to edit type, and there's a checkbox in there for make room bounding. Just make sure that's checked. So then you go to your Analyze tab, Spaces, and place spaces automatically. So this is inherently, what you've just done is you've created the object that is understanding itself as a room volume. Now in my case, and I was on level 2, for whatever reason, I could not get this larger area to become a space. So what you may have to do is go to your Analyze tab and I want to do a space separator. Let's zoom in really fast on one of our spaces. Okay, so it tags generically with a name and a number and just calls itself space. If you tab on the tag, it highlights the larger X, and that's good. So yours found the larger floor plate, huh? Oh, good. I don't know why mine did not.
It also called out columns.
Yes. So here's the funny thing about spaces. To a mechanical engineer, they actually need the space in that area. It's considered a plenum space, and they need it for. And the spaces are much more beneficial to them in many ways. But go ahead and make sure you have a few lighting fixtures in that space somewhere. Highlight that space. And for that matter, make sure you have a section going through that space, because we're going to study a few different things here with it. Go into a section view. And I can actually highlight that space in a section view. Notice that it found a ceiling height. It's stopped. In our case, we're going to drag it all the way up to be basically underside of slab. Okay? What's important here is that we are, look at this, electrical lighting, average estimated illumination is at 0 foot candles, right? And things like code LPD and desired illumination remain unfilled. Okay, we're going to see why that is here in just one moment. I'm going to hover on that space again. And let's say that this is an office space. How does that sound? So scroll down. There is an identity data parameter called space style. And let's just say this is an open office. Okay? With that, we can specify that code LPD, look, that came in. Desired illumination, that all came in. Where did that come from? Well, it actually is coming from something that's a schedule called a key schedule. And this is something, the space style schedule, AHLB space style schedule. We double click on that. Here's where all that information is coming from. And you can make new versions of this. You can add or remove or change this. And of course, whichever state you're working in, this will differ, right? From wherever you are. If you want to add a new category, you go up to the top of the screen, hit New Row, and you can call this whatever it is. What do we want to call this? Auditoriums. Sometimes this seems a little duplicated. Okay. This audience seating area auditorium, this is not something that you're able to input. This comes from Revit. The space type. This is something that you'd need to change if your LPD, which is set right here at 0.93 watts a square foot. If that's different for your code, you'll need to change it here. That code required LPD, that may not be as critical anymore, simply because lighting load, because that comes from the space type. Lighting load density, which is basically LPD. We'll have to update that in this schedule. Desired illumination doesn't come with this. Anybody have an idea of what desired illumination for an auditorium would be?
An auditorium? Put 40.
Okay. Cool. 40. And this was 0.93 if I remember right. Okay. So there's a space style. And if we click on that space now, here it is. It's numbers 36.
How'd you get back to that space?
Oh, I kind of hovered in the area. I was able to tab through and I found it.
But how did you get out of your schedule back to it?
Oh, you can close that schedule. We need to close this space style. The space style is an open office. That's good. heated and cooled, all those types of things. We don't really have to worry about a lot of that. We're going to rename it. That's the biggest thing, so that it just stands out to us. We're going to rename it to be let's just call it office for now. Something simple. We double click on the HLB space schedule. Look at this. Kind of a pain in that all these spaces are there but with no names. There's a utility that we'll have in place for you that's a plugin that basically grabs the architect's room name and applies it to your space automatically. So you won't have to rename all of this. One thing that we can do, check this out, I'll show you a method of filtering, because remember we did have spaces that were inside of column bays, things like that. Hit edit on your filter. Look at this, you can filter by area. And let's say if it's less than or equal to 10 square feet. Okay? I'm sorry, rather if it's greater than or equal to. Basically that means we don't keep any spaces that are any smaller than that. We filter them all out. Is that cool? I found that really exciting, and from a data standpoint, it's like, wow. Okay, so there's our space schedule. Look at this, our space style, open office, there it is, it's been applied. We can change the number, we can change the name, but we can't really change the space style, even from there. Okay. You could also set up a filter that says don't show me the space if it's called space, right? Because obviously it's very confusing. That space schedule, look at this. You can filter by name. If it does not equal space, look. So as you would go through and you'd start renaming those spaces, it automatically would start populating here. So the filtering is really, really powerful.
Sorry, Peter, I'm having trouble following. This space, I'm kind of lost with this like space style, and then starting to separate it out.
Yeah, so it's like the space style is defined in that space style, the key, and it's called the schedule key.
Okay.
Awesome, so you're there.
Mm-hmm.
You can close that because what this is basically doing is just saying, okay, those are general types, and rather than having to, for every space, enter that information into each and every space, we're just going to give each and every space a style, and it will automatically fill those values in.
Okay, and where do we do style?
So the style is defined here,
Okay.
and then you can close this once you have the space styles defined.
But I don't understand how to define the space style.
So do you're in this schedule, go, let's click in here somewhere, do a new, and you can make and where it says 7, make another space style, some other portion of a building that you may have. Yeah, and then click in there and click those 3, that button, and you have to find something that matches it.
Okay, right. I did that with the auditoriums.
Cool.
But then how did you get to the office open plan?
Okay, so close the schedule that you're in, that key schedule or that style schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And I just went to the HLV space schedule.
Okay.
And I filtered from there. I said, okay, I filtered by area. Yeah, it's greater than or equal to 10 square feet, exactly.
Right.
You got it?
I got all of that. What I don't get is where that came from. Office, and it says, so was that just, did you just mean after the auditorium?
I did. So if we go back into the model joiner, so if you close that schedule. Okay, so from here, we have a section through. Can we find that space that we had made on level 2?
Yeah, I mean, this is where it is, but I don't know how.
Oh, there, yeah, you have it. Yeah, so kind of hover, you'll see a big X go through. So it's so, there it is. Left click there. Drag that upper limit. There you go. Drag that up to the underside of slab, more or less. Cool. And then in here, you can scroll down. This is where you can rename it.
Okay, that's where I lost it.
Yeah, there it is. Name and number. So as you start typing it in, you know, office or whatever you want to call it.
I think I lost I'm lost at the same point.
And then re-click on that and look at the properties. Find the space style for open office and apply that.
Okay. Thank you.
Lindsay, are you in good shape?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Because I got it to look like yours, I just don't know how or why or what happened.
Cool, okay, so you have the space. Did you,
So I was here, I made spaces, I have a section in that space. And I went to it and it's highlighted.
cool.
And then I don't know what happens after this.
Okay, so go down to name. Instead of calling it space, retype office.
Okay.
Cool. And you could actually hit that little drop down and call it office. And it's good. It actually purges that office _2 that you had. It's actually gone from the project. So then you want to find space type in here. Space style where it says none. Change that to open office. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool?
Yes. So now. Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. And so, there you go. So that space style.
This is how I now have that in my drop-down list.
Cool. You got it. Exactly. That's how you have that now in your drop-down list. So basically, when you have thousands of spaces in a project, last thing you want to do is fill in desired luminance, the code required LPD or code max LPD for each and every one of those. You just want to be able to apply it over and over and over again. That's basically what that key schedule is doing. It's so you don't have to re-enter it time and time again. If you want to do a follow-up on that, key schedules are what you'll want to research. Following that, you can go back into your space schedule. I think the next step we did was filtering.
I followed the filtering.
Okay.
I just
Yeah, how to be exclusive with the data.
At the same time, it's a little difficult.
Oh, it's yeah. I'm very impressed. It's extraordinarily hard to do. Okay, so let's go back to plan. Make sure you have some fixtures in your office area. I'm going to edit my group, and I'm actually going to go in, select one of my fixtures, and then we need to hit Edit Family, because we need to go out there and go get the right IES file for this. Okay? That's the next step. So we select the fixture in the model. We then hit Edit Family. We've all seen the the family creator here. By the way, all that electrical and power data comes from the connector here. And the connector is just the item that the engineer will not only wire to, but it also is carrying a lot. Really, what is the wattage of the fixture? All of those things. I hadn't, entered these funny little numbers not too long ago, but not thinking about, really what they should be. What's a good voltage for that?
Probably, 277.
Good. 40 watts or so. The decent budget. So, to get an IES file in, we have photometrics here represented by a light source. Now, this light source does not suffice when we're trying to do lighting calculations or when we're trying to do LPD. Revit can't read it for whatever reason, so we have to actually get a true IES file. Click on that object representing the light source, and up here in the top of the ribbon, hit Light Source Definition, and then in the lower left and lower right, there is a photometric web. Emit from line shape, photometric web. We'll hit apply, and we'll hit OK. Now, that is only partially true, right? Because we probably don't have the correct IES file. So, we are going to go into our family types here, up in the upper left. Everybody with me so far? They changed that? Changed it okay? Family types. Scroll down, and under photometrics, very, very, very well hidden, photometric web file. It defaults to a generic, but instead we need to go in and grab, in this case, a 2x4, I believe. Hit OK. And we'll hit apply. Now, here's one major thing. Notice it's going to the C drive. That's because the default IES files, when Revit installs its libraries, it's all local. We can point it to a network location, but it's I don't know how critical that is. It may be pointed to a project folder eventually.
Yeah, I mean, either way, we have to pull IES files for each project. I mean, having a network drive is helpful.
Okay.
Because it gets out of date quickly.
Yeah.
But I think what we would be interested in is that, at least from the HLB family standpoint, that if we could have all the fixtures set up in this fashion,
Sure.
I mean, having all of them already have that
Photometric web
thing, because I think that the generic stuff is pointless to us.
No.
So doing that, then it's a matter of we have to find the IES file and put it in, and that's fine. But
this is also good lesson in type catalogs. If we stay in there, I hit apply. I applied that IES file, but there's multiple sizes, guys, within this one file. I'm going to go also do a 2x2, and I'll go find a 2x2 2-lamp IES. Hit apply, and I'll do the same for my 1x4. 1x4. Just generic 2-lamp. I'm going to hit apply, hit OK, and hit load into project. Overwrite existing version when you're ready to load that in.
You can see that light source definition.
Do photometric web. Got it. Nice. Got it? Able to find the, awesome. Yep. And then if you want to drop down and get the other sizes, get that 2x4, there we go. You get that 1x4, and then you go past that IES file there. Able to find the, good, you got the IES files in place. Great. go back up to the types that are available. Yeah. I wish they were connected. So yeah, for the 2x4, there's a variety of ones that are generic and out of the box and ready to go.
So after you hit the photometric web, right?
Yep.
This, then you load it into something.
Make sure you go to there, one over to the right. That's it. Family types. You need to go scroll down and see photometric web files set to generic. Go browse to pick the right one. Okay, after you've done that, go back to your plan. After you've reloaded, and select that space that those fixtures are applying to, and look at the properties of that space, especially from an lumen standpoint and also power density standpoint. Is it computing?
We're looking at primarily LPD.
Average 5.71
The
foot candles.
usage,
Oh,
energy usage, not the actual device. the whole-
Oh, here, 28 watts.
Yep. Well, what's funny, the actual, your electrical loads are not calculated. Oh, I know why it is. We haven't told, I don't think in your case you probably told the light fixture what its wattage is.
I don't think I did that.
The voltage and the wattage, right. Did anyone else notice your space? First and foremost, your space is calculating average estimated illumination. In my case, I'm getting a little over 4 foot candles per square foot, I believe. And then also my power density. Okay? If you go to the lighting calculation schedule, okay? Actual LPD is not being read. Let me see what it is. Actual other load. In your HLB lighting calculation schedule, go to your fields. We're going to update this on the fly. Hit actual other loads and add that. We'll move it up. Oh, and that's why the this is one of those issues where watts per square foot isn't easily calculated. So we have to take a look at this. Well, it looks like we have one more missing piece of data that we'll need to get working for you. But in this, this schedule is telling you some things. It's saying desired illumination is 35 foot candles. You only are providing 4. So it's a large space, obviously. It's a pretty decent starting point. The design loads. what it is. Actual lighting power density. This is interesting. It is telling you the type of fixtures that are in that office space. We need to do some sorting and grouping and formatting. Sort by those are all the same. It's that lower level under the lower row is trying to grab the actual light fixtures that are in the room. It's telling us that we have 16 fixtures in there. There's a count, but it's not giving us it's not itemizing each and every instance, which I was hoping that it would. Type mark. Oh, here we go. Okay, there we go. Here's the breakdown. Now, is this helpful, having this as part of your LPD schedule where you have a room and then it shows every fixture that's in that room?
Well, it could be grouped by, so, like, it doesn't need to list each instance individually.
Okay.
But it can group it, like, all the A1s can be grouped together.
Okay.
And with a count.
Yeah, that would help, wouldn't it? Okay, so sorting, grouping. We're going to group by type mark. We're not going to itemize every instance. We'll hit OK, and there it is.
Yes.
So you get 7 A1s in that office, and okay, cool.
And can it say that like A1 is, I don't know, total of 700 watts?
Mm-hmm. A summation of all of those wattages just for that one fixture?
In the room.
Let me look at that, possibly. Yeah, rather than looking at the total wattage for the room, look at the summary of wattages just for that fixture in that room.
I just think that it would be helpful because when we are then over, you know what to target.
Okay, cool. Yeah, fairly helpful though, right? So let's do a quick little test. Watch this. I'm going to copy my lighting group over, staying within that space. And let's see what happens when I go back to that. So there's my space schedule. It definitely is getting better. This isn't very accurate for the lighting. I'm not sure why. It seems like and this is probably what you need to vet this and test this yourselves. But you know, obviously, you need to test it against maybe what you calculate or what you're using for your AGI or however you're doing your actual calculations. Yeah, because you know you have an awful lot of fixtures in there, and it says it's still there's a deficit.
Yeah, I have to say I don't find those columns extremely helpful.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they're very accurate.
Yeah, they're probably not.
But the wattage and counts and all of that stuff.
Yeah,
Definitely.
so the average estimated illumination, things like that, are not as helpful. Okay. Yeah, but the wattage will definitely be helpful for power density. That's the biggest thing. Okay. Great.
Yeah, and it's connected.
Connected load,
Yeah.
meaning?
Meaning lamp and ballast, not just lamp.
Okay. Oh, how do we get that to? I need to see how we can get that to work.
So I don't know if that's something that we just input in because, for instance, you could have a T8 with a normal ballast spectrum and it's 28 watts, or you could have high ballast spectrum, you know, and,
I think
and depending upon the manufacturer.
I think we have to do it.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
We
So
just
I
have
don't
to
know.
take it into account.
I don't know if we can input that somewhere so that we just kind of have like an input watts.
Yeah, we can. We can. So like having like basically you input the wattage.
Yeah, especially because voltage doesn't matter to us.
No.
I mean, it does. We
No.
need to make sure eventually that it works, but
It matters to the sense of usually 200 and something 7 volts is slightly less watts than 120.
do we always know what's going on in a project?
We don't
We always
always,
have to take
but
just the
we
worst case scenario.
often, I would say I often know, but I don't always know.
So, I mean, we'll usually just take the worst case scenario and put that wattage in.
Okay.
So
Right,
if
I
a
care
ballast
about
runs
watts
at,
much more than volts.
yeah, if a ballast runs at 57 on a 120 volt, but 50 on a 277, unless we hear otherwise, we'll put that 57 in because that's our worst
Okay.
case scenario.
So we'll do we'll get a summary of wattage per room, and then we can do wattage per floor, if that would help.
Yeah.
And then I think we can still get it to calculate watts per square foot at that point. I need to play with it a little bit. But yeah, the power density, that's the tough thing, is getting those unit conversions over. And you would think you could just take area and multiply it by,
The other thing that would be really nice,
12.
and I don't think it's shown here, is if it could show on here the square footage of that area.
yeah,
We could have that as a column.
sure. We definitely can. We can say pulling from spaces. We're going to take perimeter, space, volume.
Because then, for instance, I know that you guys don't use ComCheck, but we could essentially take this and just direct input it into ComCheck and then still be able to take our
I mean,
exemptions and allowances
Oh.
and so forth.
Yeah, so nice.
yeah.
Oh, that's one thing. ComCheck suddenly stopped being such a pain with the advent of Revit.
Yes.
No, it was so helpful, especially from an architectural standpoint when we were having to do the facades and how many windows we had, and yeah, definitely was nice. Areas, and as I certainly played with those other two tabs in ComCheck a lot, having to do mechanical and then also lighting limits. Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of work. So that's great. Anything that can help facilitate that process, that's a nice thing. You can create a schedule that is tailored to you as a user. It says, I want to see this piece of data coming out of the computer so that it helps me just do my work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, perfect. So the lighting power density
Yeah, that would be helpful.
is...
I mean, nice to store and ComCheck, but at least we can go here.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So this is demonstrating that the zonal cavity stuff or the zonal calculations are they're not all that helpful to you. I doubt they're.
Well, it's,
they
I
don't
mean, I
have
think
the
at an
accuracy.
SD level, it's helpful if we're just going to quickly see, is this going to work or is it not going to work?
Yeah.
It's helpful. But it doesn't beyond that. It's not worth
No.
anything.
No.
No, it's definitely not. IES file mapping, are we clear on that? All of your fixtures generically will be set up for IES. They'll have the generic IES file. They won't have the generic, they'll have a specific IES file, but an out-of-the-box Revit IES file.
But we wouldn't I mean, my hope is that we won't have to go through the process of editing the family, grabbing the light source definition, changing its distribution to the
You won't.
generic stuff.
It'll be done.
Okay, because
Yeah.
I mean, because once we do that, it's simple of just selecting the fixture and then in the property you can change it.
You got it. Yep. And that's the thing with the spaces. I mean, that's the other cumbersome part of spaces. Is they are tough. Spaces are going to be hard. It's an extra setup step, extra maintenance step potentially for you, and you need to really be careful about. Okay, is it really worth doing spaces and trying to do our lighting power density calculations through this, or do we want to do it some other way?
Do they not, if we got a new model, would they update or we have to redo the space?
They will update. They will update because it's referencing that model. And by the way, whenever you do get a new model You guys know how to do it. Basically, overwrite the old version. You at that point go into your manage links. You select one of those links and you just hit reload. And as long as it's named the same, just like in Revit or in AutoCAD, it will reload, it'll overwrite, and it'll update everything. Yeah. Yeah, won't be a problem. The spaces will update automatically.
I have a question on updating and reloading models. Are we going, I guess this is a question for all of us, are we going to be in the state of monitoring their models so that we get actual like clouds or nodes that say what's changed?
Good question. I mean, my opinion is that you only need to do level